English Practice Today podcast from SBS News. Morning News, 7th of June 2024. In this bulletin, the UN responds to reports of 40 dead in an Israel airstrike on the UN school in Gaza. Night chairman Peter Costello denies striking a journalist at Canberra airport, and in sports, soccer coach Graham Arnold says the field in Bangladesh was unacceptable in his side World Cup qualifying win. The United Nations says there is nowhere safe in Gaza for civilians after a fatal airstrike on the school. Hamas says 40 people were killed in an Israeli airstrike on an UN school in Gaza, which the UN says was being used as a shelter for 6,000 people. Israel says its airstrike was targeted and 30 Hamas fighters were inside at the time, although they don't know yet how many of them were killed. Israel says Hamas and Islamic Jihad fighters are deliberately using UN facilities as operational bases. But Stefan Dujarric, spokesman for the UN Secretary General, says the incident is yet more proof that, despite Israeli assurance, people in Gaza are simply just being shunted from one dangerous place to another. Quote, "It's just another horrific example of the price that civilians are paying, that Palestinian men, women, and children who are just trying to survive, who are being forced to move around in sort of a death circle around Gaza, trying to find safety, are paying." Quote, "Western leaders have gathered on the beaches of northern France to mark 80 years since the D-Day landings. Some of the surviving veterans have returned to Normandy for a series of commemorations to pay tribute to the immense sacrifices made by the tens of thousands of troops during the World War II campaign. The Allied invasion, which began on June the 6th in 1944, led to the defeat of the Nazis and the end of the war." Speaking in Normandy, United States President Joe Biden used the opportunity to draw out comparisons to Russia's current war in Ukraine. Quote, "In memory of those who fought here, died here, saved the world here, let us be worthy of their sacrifice. Let us be the generation that went. History is written about our time in 10, 20, 30, 50, 80 years from now. It will be said, when the moment came, we met the moment." Quote, "Earlier in the day, King Charles and French President Emmanuel Macron laid wreath at the British Memorial in Normandy. The monarch, joined by British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, paid tribute to the sacrifices made by Allied soldiers. Quote, "We recall the lesson that come to us again and again across the decades. Free nations must stand together to oppose tyranny." Quote, with war again raging on Europe borders, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was there to celebrate the heroic actions of 80 years ago. Night chairman Peter Costello says he did not strike a journalist at Canberra airport yesterday afternoon. Footage posted on the Australian's website shows their reporter Liam Mans asking Mr. Costello about recent harassment allegations at night. Mr. Costello appears to approach the journalist, who then falls backwards, saying, "You have just assaulted me. You have just pushed me. It's all on camera." When asked about what took place, Mr. Costello told journalists in Parliament House that he did not lay a finger on him, adding that the airport is a public place that he was entitled to walk through. Quote, "When I came through Canberra airport, there was a reporter walking backwards with his phone filming. As I walked past him, he backed into an advertising placard and he fell over. I did not strike him. If he's upset about that, I'm sorry, but I did not strike him." Quote. New South Wales police will have strengthened powers to tackle knife crime after controversial so-called wending laws passed the state parliament. After a spate of high-profile stabbings in Sydney, including a Bondi Junction shopping center attack in April, where 6 people were killed with a knife, police will now be able to use a handheld metal detector without warrants in certain locations. These include shopping precincts, sports venues, and public transport stations. The bill passed the New South Wales Parliament despite the opposition voting against it, arguing that it did not give police enough power. Now in sports, football. Sucrose coach Graham Arnold says the field his side had to play in their 2-0 World Cup qualifying win over Bangladesh was unacceptable. An own goal from deflected Adin Rostic strike in the first half and a headed Kusini Yangi goal in the second half have kept Australia undefeated in their qualifying campaign. But the waterlogged pitch at Bashtara Kings Arena in Dhaka is the main talking point. Yangi says the grass was too long and the pitch too muddy. Arnold says the field was dangerous and he was worried about players getting injured. Quote, "The field was dangerous. I'm not passing responsibility that it was the field that we only won 2-0. We had the chances to score 5 or 6, 7, but some of the tackles, potential injuries, were stressing me out." Quote, the Sucrose now play Palestinian in Perth in Tuesday to round out this stage of World Cup qualifying. They have already qualified for the next stage. That is all for this news and practice.